Hello there, I'm Azaria Tagaya and you're tuning into Nightline, the top stories. Tan Sri Muhyiddin is a suspect. Datuk Sri Tengku Zafrul also under investigation, says MACC. And the government needs to create more jobs and business opportunities through investment. Good morning. The Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission MACC Chief Commissioner Tan Sri Azam Baki has confirmed that former Finance Minister Datuk Sri Tengku Zafrul Abdul Aziz would be summoned for questioning. He said that the MACC would record the statement of Datuk Sri Tengku Zafrul in the near future to assist its investigation in connection to the Jana Wibawa project probe. Tan Sri Azam, when contacted by TV3 on Sunday, also confirmed that the MACC has taken the statement of former Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin over the project. However, he stressed that the investigation was still ongoing and it was inappropriate for individuals who were called to provide their statements to draw their own conclusions whether they were summoned as witnesses or suspects in the case. Under Section 30, Subsection 1, Subsection A of the MACC Act, an MACC officer investigating an offence may order any person to attend before him for the purpose of being examined orally in relation to any matter which in his opinion may assist in the investigation into the offence. Tan Sri Azam also pointed out that the person must wait until the investigation has been fully completed before they can give any comment with regards to the probe by authorities. Earlier, it was reported that a source from the MACC said that Tan Sri Muhyiddin, who is also Bersatu President, is a suspect in the Jana Wibawa project probe, despite the fact that he had reportedly denied the matter on Saturday. The source added that investigations were also underway against several individuals, including Datuk Sri Tengku Zafrul. On February 15th, it was announced that the government had decided to postpone 5.7 billion ringgit worth of rural development projects under the Jana Wibawa scheme to allow a review to determine whether they were awarded in accordance with the procurement process and governance requirements set by the Treasury. Malaysia's economic growth, which had been driven by private consumption since several years ago, would not be viable in the long term as long as the people have no sustainable income. Therefore, former Second Finance Minister Datuk Sri Johari Abdul Ghani stressed that instead of a consumption-driven economy, more jobs and business opportunities need to be created through investment.
Consumption is good. We spend money, we give a lot of money to rakyat. Dapat gaji, dapat saving EPF semua keluar, boleh spend. So dia meningkatkan ekonomi. Tetapi yang ini tidak sustainable kalau sekiranya mereka tidak mempunyai income yang sustainable. Sebab tu kita perlukan investment. Investment ini, why over the period of time is sustainable? Sebab dia mengeluarkan peluang pekerjaan.
Datuk Sri Johari pointed out that the country's economy expanded 8.7% last year, partly due to consumer spending, which was supported by the Special Employees Provident Fund EPF withdrawal schemes, as well as bank moratorium on loan repayments, and not through increased labour productivity.
Lepas tu bila tiba nak kena bayar hutang, dia kena start balik dan dia dah tak ada duit nak spend. And then orang yang tak ada kerja tak boleh spend, besok EPF dah habis pakai. So jadi dia tidak sustainable.
In an interview with the Free Malaysia Today portal, FMT, the Titiwangsa Member of Parliament urged the government to find ways for Malaysia to again be the preferred choice for investments instead of its neighbouring countries.
Hari ini Indonesia, Vietnam is the preferred investment in ASEAN as compared to Malaysia. Dulu Malaysia ni number one. So sekarang ni kita tertinggal jauh.
Datuk Sri Johari added that political instability, shortage of skilled workforce in Malaysia, as well as lack of foreign labour have contributed to the problem. Other than investor-friendly policies, Malaysia also needs to have competent and experienced leaders to overcome the complicated issues plaguing the country's economy. Meanwhile, Datuk Sri Johari said the government should not be involved in business, adding that the focus should be on administering the country. Citing Malaysia's 5G rollout as an example, the former minister said the government could have engaged telecommunications companies directly instead of setting up Digital National Berhad DNB.
Kita nak set up company and then dealing with the telcos. Telcos have no confidence with the government entity to address the issue. So that's why today we are still about 36-38% in terms of rollout.
DNB, owned by the Minister of Finance Incorporated, was set up as a special purpose vehicle (SPV) and is responsible for building and managing the 5G network and acts as the single wholesale provider of 5G services. However, the 5G rollout plan has been fraught with delays since it was first slated to take off at the end of 2021, with some network operators not wanting to purchase capacity in the initial stages due to pricing and transparency issues. Datuk Sri Johari also said if the 5G rollout is unsuccessful, the government would not be able to recoup its investment of an estimated 16.5 billion ringgit on 5G infrastructure for 80% coverage. As Malaysia prepares to unveil its 2023 budget, non-resident senior fellow at the Malaysian Institute of Economic Research (MIER), Professor Dr. Jeffrey Williams, advises people to moderate their expectations. This is since the upcoming budget tabling is not intended for election campaigning and thus is unlikely to provide many handouts. Professor Williams stressed that while the budget may not include many handouts, it is an opportunity to address the issues of cost of living and income in a structured manner to give more significant impact on improving the lives of Malaysians in the long run.
You have to remember that the budget we saw in October was right before the election. That's what it was designed for. It was a pre-election budget. So, of course, there's going to be a lot of handouts and a lot of goodies for everybody. That was the purpose of it. But now we're not in that position. This is not a pre-election budget, and so we won't, I don't expect that we will see a long list of goodies and handouts for everybody. So people need, I think, to moderate their expectations. They might be a bit disappointed if they're not getting a lot of presents at the end of the month.
According to Professor Williams, the budget announcement's effect on Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim's popularity is not a concern, as achieving economic stability should be the priority for the country's greater impact.
But this is not a time for him to worry too much about popularity. He's won the election, by the way, so he doesn't need to worry too much about that for the next 5 years. Now he needs to look at what's right for the economy. So it's not so much what's right for the rakyat or what's right for the business community, it's what's right for the economy. If he can put the economy into a much more stable situation, deal with the deficit, address the debt issue that you just mentioned, then that will give us more economic stability.
He said this during an interview on TV3's flagship business program Money Matters, which aired at 5 p.m. on Saturday.
Ubah keutamaan demi kemampanan ekonomi.
Makmur bersama Malaysia Madani, iltizam kerajaan perpaduan untuk rakyat.
Cerakin dampak belanjawan 2023 bersama kami dan penganalisis.
Jumaat 24 Februari
bermula jam 3 petang
hanya di TV3. Prime Minister Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim said he was very touched by the concern shown by Malaysians on the fate of earthquake victims in Syria and Turkey. The humanitarian assistance provided so far is the result of the cooperation by the government, non-governmental organisations and members of the public. Taking to his Facebook page on Sunday, the Prime Minister said that 42 tons more of humanitarian assistance was sent to Damascus, Syria on Saturday. The aid was sent via 2 A400M aircraft belonging to the Royal Malaysian Air Force. The humanitarian aid delivery mission, the first to Syria since the country and Turkey were hit by an earthquake on February 6th, left at about 10:15 p.m. on Saturday night from the Subang RMAF base with 51 crew including representatives of ministries and NGOs. The death toll of the earthquake, measuring 7.8 on the Richter scale, which shook South Turkey and northwest Syria, has exceeded 45,000 victims. Meanwhile, in an interview with the Turkey Radio and Television Department (TRT) in Ankara during his visit to the country on Wednesday, the Prime Minister said Malaysia had sent 3 humanitarian assistance mission teams to the country so far. Meanwhile, Turkey on Sunday has ended its rescue efforts in all provinces except the 2 hardest hit by last week's massive quake that hit the country and neighbouring Syria. The head of the country's disaster management agency, Yunus Sezer, said search and rescue work in 9 of the 11 provinces hit by the quake had ended but will continue in Kahraman Maras and Hatay provinces. While rescue operations continue in the 2 provinces, there have been no signs of anyone being dug from the rubble alive since 3 members of one family, a mother, father father and a 12-year-old boy were extracted from a collapsed building in Hatay on Saturday. It was reported that Turkey's death toll since the earthquake tore the nation had risen to at least 40,642 people. Meanwhile, neighboring Syria has reported more than 5,800 deaths, taking the combined death toll in both countries to over 46,000. The preparation of a white paper on the procurement of COVID-19 vaccines was not made to find fault with the previous administration, but rather to improve the process in the future. Health Minister Dr. Zaliha Mustafa said the team established to prepare the white paper will look at things that can be improved from what was presented by the Public Accounts Committee PAC earlier.
Kita belum ada jangka masa yang kita tetapkan. Kita dalam proses lagi, tapi secepat mungkin kalau siap kita akan bentangkan kepada kabinet dan kemudian kalau mendapat kelulusan dan kita boleh bentangkan juga di parlimen.
She said this to reporters after the inauguration of the Sultanah Aminah Hospital Wellness Hub in Johor Bahru on Sunday. On February 8th, Prime Minister Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim was quoted as saying that the Health Ministry would present a white paper on the procurement of vaccines and related costs, which was alleged to be partially non-compliant and was signed by the Minister without the approval of the Attorney General. Meanwhile, when asked to comment on the Auditor General's report on the supply of faulty ventilators during the pandemic, which involved a loss of 13 million ringgit, Dr. Zaliha said she had sought an explanation from the officials involved. Earlier this week, the AG's report said that only 28 out of 136 ventilators obtained by the Health Ministry through the emergency procurement procedure could be used, with the remaining 108 units of ventilators supplied by a company unable to be used because they were unsuitable or unsafe to use for patients. The report mentioned that following that, the ministry had returned only 15 of them to the manufacturer, while the loss claim of 13.07 million ringgit for the other 93 units cannot be carried out as there was no procurement documents between the company and the ministry. Two employment agencies in the country are suspected of masterminding the recruitment of Malaysian citizens to be fraudulently sent as workers under a foreign employment syndicate. However, the company's tactics were exposed following the arrest of several individuals by the police last month. Bukit Aman Criminal Investigation Department Director Datuk Sri Abdul Jalil Hassan said the company is a licensed employment agency that carries out activities to bring in foreign workers to the country in various sectors. However, he said the company has been hiding behind its status as a legitimate employment agency to lure victims before sending them abroad to work with the syndicates.
Di sini juga kita telah menyalurkan maklumat dalang-dalang tu kemungkinan ini ada dalang di Thailand. Kerana kita telah mendapat tangkapan dua sindiket yang berada di Malaysia dalam bulan lepas dia, dua sindiket yang bertopengkan kepada agensi pekerjaan yang sah.
He said the two companies are now being investigated by the Anti-Trafficking in Persons and Anti-Smuggling of Migrants Unit. Datuk Sri Abdul Jalil said this at a press conference on Sunday to disclose the success of bringing home 5 locals who were deceived by a fraudulent job syndicate in Thailand. He said there are various employment fraud syndicates that actively recruit citizens of this country to be sent to work abroad, but the main focus of the police is to identify the real masterminds of these criminal groups. The proposal to establish a Malaysia Cybersecurity Commission is now at the engagement stage with related agencies to discuss the various legal aspects as well as the form of the commission itself. Communications and Digital Minister Fahmi Fazil hoped that the proposal can be tabled in the Dewan Rakyat in June after receiving the approval of the Cabinet. He said he expected the commission to be established in a year or two. Despite this, he added that Cybersecurity Malaysia's function or jurisdiction of controlling cybersecurity will continue. In addition, Fahmi said he planned to review the country's cryptography policy to streamline data security aspects in the country. Cryptography involves encryption, which is the key to data security, and currently other countries have started implementing new policies involving quantum cryptography, which is a more advanced method of encryption. In Terengganu, police said it will be investigating a procession of a political party allegedly brandishing weapons in Sethiu on Friday. State Police Chief Datuk Rohaimi Mat Issa said a video of the procession, which had gone viral on social media, showed a group of youth carrying replicas of weapons and had caused uneasiness among the people. In a statement on Sunday, Datuk Rohaimi said authorities will conduct an investigation to identify violations in the procession and to take the appropriate action. It was believed that the incident occurred on February 17th at a resort in Sethiu. The parade was one of the events under a program which include designing Islamic-themed attire, weapons and heritage. It was participated by each district in the state, and among all contesting districts, only one group was spotted using weapons with the attire. Datuk Rohaimi added that police knew about the program but were not informed about the procession carrying replicas of weapons. Meanwhile, Minister in the Prime Minister's Department for Religious Affairs, Datuk Dr. Muhammad Naim Mokhtar, said the procession was inappropriate and gives a bad impression of Islam and the country. He added that he would leave it to the authorities to investigate if any laws had been violated. We're going for a short break. When we return, over a dozen killed in Israel's deadliest attack on Syria. Stay tuned. At least 15 people have been killed on Sunday after an Israeli rocket strike hit a building in central Damascus's Kafr Susa neighborhood. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights said that the overnight strike, which hit close to an Iranian cultural center, created a road and wrecked the adjacent 10-story building. The Britain-based observatory said civilians, including 2 women, were among those killed in the attack. However, Syria's defense ministry gave an initial death toll of 5, including 1 soldier, and 15 wounded civilians, some in critical condition. In the meantime, Israel has not commented on the airstrikes, which come more than a month after an Israeli missile attack hit the Damascus International Airport, killing 4 people. A small plane carrying 4 people on board has crashed in the central Philippines on Sunday, and a search for the survivors was underway. According to aviation officials, the Cessna 340 aircraft went missing early Saturday morning, shortly after departing for Manila from Bicol International Airport in Albay province, south of the capital. It was reported that the plane was carrying 2 passengers, a pilot and another crew member. A search and rescue team has identified a possible crash site near the airport, as the debris of a Cessna plane was found near the crater of the active Mayon volcano. However, authorities were still verifying whether it was the same aircraft that went missing on Saturday. The United States held joint air exercises bilaterally with South Korea and Japan involving strategic bombers on Sunday, a day after North Korea fired an intercontinental ballistic missile in a sudden launching drill. South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff said the exercise, in which South Korea's fighters escorted American B-1B bombers, demonstrated the allies' overwhelming defense capabilities and readiness posture. Meanwhile, Japan's defense ministry in a statement said that its fighter jets flew over the Sea of Japan with the U.S. Armed Forces in tactical exercises, calling the security environment increasingly severe after the latest North Korea missile landed within its exclusive economic zone. Nightline. Moving on to sports now. Borussia Mönchengladbach beat 10-man Bayern Munich 3-2 to leave their opponents with a slim advantage atop the Bundesliga and stretch their unbeaten run against the champions to a club record 5th straight game in all competitions. Gladbach went ahead through Lars Stindl in the 13th minute after Bayern got off to a nightmare start, with Dayo Upamecano bringing down LSN player outside the box and being sent off for his last man foul in the 8th minute. Bayern kept going forward and were rewarded in the 35th with Alphonso Davies sprinting down the wing with dazzling speed and cutting back for Eric Maxim Choupo-Moting to slot in the equaliser. Bayern fell behind again when Gladbach outplayed the visitors' outnumbered defence with a quick passing move, and Jonas Hoffmann completed it with a cool finish in the 55th. Substitute Marcus Thuram made sure of the 3 points after finishing off an almost identical move down the right, before Mathis Tel pulled a goal back for Bayern in added time. Bayern have 43 points after 21 games, with Union Berlin on 42 from 20 before they host Schalke 04 on Sunday. Meanwhile, 10-men Newell's Old Boys left it late to beat Banfield 2-0 at the Estadio Marcelo Alberto Bielsa on Sunday. Goals from Victor Velasquez and Gerson Mosquera in the dying minutes of the match sealed the victory, which pushed up the Old Boys to 6th position in the Liga Profesional Argentina standings. Alleged kingpin arrested, over 2 million ringgit worth of drugs seized. This and more after this short break.
Take care of them.
Staying with us. Over 2 million ringgit worth of drugs have been found hidden in a rented house in Kluang following a police raid. Johor Deputy Police Chief Deputy Commissioner M. Kumar said as a result of the special operation, a 27-year-old local man believed to be a kingpin in a drug syndicate was also nabbed. Police launched the special operation at 4 separate locations in Kluang at around 1:30 p.m. on Thursday. Following the first raid, police found over 2 million ringgit worth of drugs in a rented house and arrested the 27-year-old man. 3 other houses were also raided following the first discovery. No drugs were found in the 3 other houses, but they were believed to have also been used as stores for the drugs. Also seized from the first house were 4 cars worth 155,000 ringgit. He noted that the suspect, who tested negative for drugs, was being remanded for 7 days beginning Friday to assist in investigations. The operation is still ongoing to nab other members of the syndicate who are still at large. Police have opened an investigation paper after 13 copies of the Quran were found dumped in a drain at Tasik Sri Murni in Jinjang. This after a video showing the discovery went viral on social media. Sentul District Police Chief ACP Beh Eng Lai said the case was being investigated under Section 295 of the Penal Code for destroying sacred items such as the Quran with the aim to insult the religion. The case was also being investigated under Section 298A of the Penal Code for disturbing religious harmony. He said a 52-year-old local woman lodged a police report about the incident at 11:32 a.m. on Sunday. All the copies had been sent to Masjid Anas, Kampung Selayang Lama for safekeeping before being handed over to the police for further investigation. ACP Beh advised members of the public not to make any speculation that may cause concern and affect the public order. He added that anyone who may have any information on the matter may contact the Sentul District Police Headquarters. Well, that's it from us at Nightline. As we wrap, let's take a look at Bolivia's top tourist attraction, the colourful Oruro Carnival. I'm Azaria Tagaya. Thank you for watching and have a great week ahead.